Hey there, welcome to First Glance with Jody Vance, one of my all-time favorite, and if I remember correctly, first ever First Glance with Jody Vance interview. Is that right, Ian?
I think we were in the top three, if
I
not the
think so.
first.
I
Yeah.
think you were the first. You never forget your first. That's what they say. Plurilock Security is a zero trust cybersecurity solutions provider for workforces in government, commercial, and financial sectors. Frictionless biometric security, which runs at login and continuously during a session without the need of passwords. Those are such musical terms for so many of us who find ourselves going down the rabbit hole of, oh my God, I've changed my password again and I can't remember what it is. So, Ian, it's been a year since we've spoken last, and you had some big news back then. I'm sure there's been big happenings in between because I was going, where are you? I need an update. So, welcome back and bring us the latest.
Well, I appreciate that, and you're right. I didn't realize that it had been that long, but I think when we first got connected, we were still an early story when we first started having some conversations, and I think at that time, we had just recently gone public. We went public in the fall of 2020. And at that time, we had some really interesting technology. We had a scant amount of revenue. I think we had approximately $500,000 of revenue in 2020. And since then, we had set out to grow substantially. We wanted to grow organically. We wanted to grow through M&A. And so I'm quite pleased to come back and give you an update. I will share our most recent set of financials were Q3, which came out a couple of weeks ago, or excuse me, a couple of months ago now. I have to remind myself we're in the new year.
That's right, 2023. Here we go.
Yeah, exactly. But in the set of Q3 results, which came out November 21st, we reported that for a 9-month period in 2022, for that 9-month period, we reported $46.8 million of revenue, which was itself a 96% increase year over year. But if you compare that to 2020, it works out to be approximately 100x growth in revenue, from approximately $500,000 to close to $50 million of revenue. So, I'm very pleased with what we have accomplished so far. Obviously, there's a ton left to do, and frankly, there's unfortunately a lot of cyber risk still left in the world, and that's ultimately what we're helping our customers with.
Ian, it's really something, because I do remember when we first spoke that you're basically saying, yeah, we were out of the University of Victoria and we came up with this thing, and now it's a thing. Now it's a thing. Now it's a thing, and it's needed now more than ever before when you're talking about the cybersecurity lane. I mean, it feels like every day there is a discussion about issues surrounding cybersecurity at all levels. And you can get into some of the details of some of who your client are, but before who your clients are. But before we get there, I want to tell our viewer or listener that the ticker for Plurilock Security is PLUR. P is in Peter, L is in Larry, UR, a TSX Venture Exchange. Ian L. Paterson is the CEO. I mentioned Victoria. It's cool to have a backyard headquarters. I know a lot of people like to invest local, but if you're watching or listening from anywhere on the planet, also wanting to pay attention, because you are very much an international company now when it comes to who your client base is. Give our listener or viewer a little bit of an idea of some of the people you're working with at Plurilock.
Well, so over the last 2 years, we've grown very, very rapidly. Again, both organically as well as inorganically. And so by inorganic, I really mean that we've closed 4 acquisitions over the last 2 years, 3 of which actually occurred last year. And so today we are sitting at north of 600 customers. A large focus of our customer base is what we would consider North American or North American allied countries. And so we sell both to government agencies as well as commercial clients. We're not doing very much with the small business. We're not doing very much with individual cybersecurity concerns, although there's lots of opportunity there. But when we're
here, I would be your first customer.
Well, unfortunately, everybody. I mean, the surprising thing is I actually get a lot of shareholders who reach out to me saying, "Hey, I've got a concern," and unfortunately, there's not really a great avenue to direct them to other than giving some common advice. But I think it's a reflection of just how big of the opportunity exists in the world. I think the other big distinction between where we are today versus 2 years ago is that 2 years ago, we were still articulating what cybersecurity was and the impact that it has on consumers. And most people were familiar with data breaches and maybe identity theft, but they didn't necessarily see as much in the headlines about how big of a risk economically cybersecurity can be. Now it seems like that's no longer a question.
Right.
Most folks that I speak to realize that, listen, if whether you know it or not, any investment actually is a cybersecurity investment. I'll give you an example. Last year, we saw Colonial Pipeline, a very large piece of critical infrastructure in the United States, getting attacked from cyber bad actors, and it led to people trying to hoard gasoline in plastic bags. Even this year in the mining space, again, an industry you wouldn't necessarily think about when it comes to cybersecurity, and yet there was a copper mine that was taken completely offline for a period of time. This was a publicly traded copper mine, completely offline as a result of a cyber attack. And so really the impact of cyber is so prevalent. And so getting back to your question, our customers, government agencies, enterprises, when we put out press releases, you'll see names like U.S. Army, U.S. Department of Defense, U.S. Homeland Security, U.S. Special Operations Command. In Canada, Department of National Defense, Shared Services Canada, RCMP. And then on the commercial side, think large pharmaceutical companies, large healthcare organizations, and a lot of financial institutions, whether that's banks, asset managers, or funds of some kind, hedge fund, pension fund, et cetera. That's really the bread and butter of who we serve today.
So when it comes to the investment piece and someone wants to be involved, how do they find out more about you and maybe connect with you to see how their investment dollar could be applied to Plurilock?
Well, we actually just finished an oversubscribed investment round. So we had launched a non-brokered private placement just before Christmas, and we actually had more demand than we thought. So we were originally going to raise 1.5 million. We closed on 1.75. And so I think that it to some extent is an indication that people recognize the opportunity in cybersecurity, and also the fact that when it comes to the type of cybersecurity opportunities, there's a lot of private small cybersecurity companies. There's a lot of public large cybersecurity companies. There's not as many smaller public cybersecurity companies. And so that's one of the things that we hear from shareholders a lot, is that Plurilock is one of the few growth opportunities when it comes to small cap cybersecurity. So for folks who are interested in learning more, Plurilock.com is the website. You're also more than welcome to connect with me on either on email or on LinkedIn, Ian@Plurilock.com, and it's Ian L. Paterson on LinkedIn. We try and be very transparent when it comes to what we're up to, and so we're frequently putting out news, and folks are welcome to sign up to our investor distribution list to get notified when we have something to announce.
You're a very fun follow as well when it comes to staying up to speed on what is really an exploding lane. I think, as you mentioned, there was a time where people are like, really, if I have an Apple product, I don't have any problems with cybersecurity. Like it was as I don't even know what the right term is, kindergarten style, a false sense of security in the truest possible sense. And now when we're watching, all levels, you just never know. There are breaches almost constantly, as mentioned. Now you were talking about some pretty significant US and Canadian government and law enforcement and what have you. What about more international for Plurilock? Is that something that you're looking to expand to, or have you?
So we do have, I mean, it's the old 80-20 rule, and this is an approximation. This is not an actual percentage, but the bulk of our business is in North America, and even then, the bulk of our business is in the United States, which is a bit ironic, being that we're a Canadian headquartered company, and yet most of our revenue it comes from the United States. And also just directly from the U.S. federal government. We do quite a bit with the U.S. California state as well. One of the 4 acquisitions that I mentioned, based in Los Angeles, and has a tremendous pedigree and track record of serving state and local governments. But we do a ton of business with the United States federal government. because they're a huge buyer when it comes to IT and cybersecurity. So I
Yeah.
would say that the bulk and certainly the focus is within North America. We do have international clients as well, and so by international I mean outside of North America.
Yeah.
Generally we're looking at the countries first because we do so much business with both the Canadian and the U.S. federal governments. And also, I should add that on our board, we have a number of U.S. people, including the ex-director of the NSA, Vice Admiral Mike McConnell, retired, but he's been an independent director of ours for quite a few years. Also, Ed Hammersley, he used to run Raytheon's cyber division. He's on our board. So we have a lot of U.S. focus, but again, Canadian company. Now, I think what that enables us to do, though, is that to a certain extent, we're focused on operating in countries that are friendly to the United States and Canada. But because we are Canadian and we're not technically American, I think that there's almost a bit of a neutrality.
Little arm's length. Yeah.
To a certain
Yeah.
extent. And so
To a certain extent.
we've tried to make good use of that. And so certainly, Europe, Asia Pacific, definitely areas of expansion. We don't have operations there today, but certainly could in the future. The reality, though, is that cybersecurity, by most estimates, is over $1 trillion of opportunity cumulatively over the next 5 years. So you don't have to go very far to find places to set up and do business in.
Trillion with a T. There you go. He's Ian with an L. Ian L. Paterson is the CEO of Plurilock Security. PLUR is the TSX Venture Exchange symbol. Plurilock.com is where you find out more investor information. And always a pleasure to have an opportunity to chat with you. Very excited about what you have going on, and the numbers that you shared in this edition of First Glance with Jody Vance are nothing short of astounding, and yet not at all surprising with you at the helm. So thanks for doing this, Ian.
Well, thank you, Jody with a J. I look forward to coming back and giving another update.
Cheers.
Thanks.